What's up? Welcome to my review for Smallville Season 1, Episode 1, Pilot. And yeah, I'm gonna be taking a look at every single episode of Smallville again in a new perspective. Yes, I'll still be doing every episode, I'll still be giving my after talk about it, but I'll be giving you perspective on seeing the show 4 times now. And I gotta say, I love the show. Smallville is such a great show. And I'm glad to be looking at every episode with you again. Also, yeah, this will be a thing. Is that my Beckham Reacts channel, Beckham Reviews and Reacts, which is the main channel, my React side of things will be only on Wednesdays when I do Nostalgia Critic. But for my review side, it will be kind of, I don't know, I'll have to create a schedule, but yeah. You know, I'm only doing this one because of the fact is that my Smallville all came out 2 years ago, and I have a new perspective. So yeah, let's take a look. Let's go back to let's journey back to the first time we ever visited Smallville with Smallville Season 1. This episode starts off with Lionel Luthor with a young Lex, and Lionel Luthor is reading about how Queen CEO, get it, is missing and presumed dead. Obviously, this is a foreshadowing to what happens later in the season with the Green Arrow. But I like how the show literally gives us an Easter egg at what will deal with the Queen CEO years later in season 7. In season 6. So yeah. So then Lionel's like, hey, I gotta do it. He's like, oh, Lex, you gotta keep your mouth, you gotta prove that losers are not afraid. You cannot keep your eyes closed. Okay, that's my Lionel voice. Hopefully you like it, because, I'll probably have to do it for the rest of the series. But yeah, Lionel, so Lex is like, yeah, he's afraid. But Lionel's like, we losers don't afraid. You can't keep your eyes closed. Then we go through Smallville in the 1989, where yeah, so we see this meteorite crashing Earth with a ship crash landing. So we cut to our favorite naysayers, Bo Duke or Jonathan Kent, and Martha, and they enter Nell's flower shop and visit a young Lana Lang, who I think she was voiced by Miranda Cosgrove, but I don't know the sources that the actress was dubbed over by Miranda Cosgrove. I don't know. I love Miranda Cosgrove. Hashtag iCarly. Hashtag Save iCarly Season 4. But yeah. But anyway, Martha tells Lana. See, there's so many L's in the series. It's super confusing going back and rewatching it because there's so many L's in this show. But anyway, Martha tells Lana that she would love to make a wish, and then we cut to the car where Jonathan's like, "Oh, Bo Duke or see, I call him Bo Duke. I'm sorry, Bo Duke / Jonathan. I just like calling him Bo Duke. Tells Martha about the fact is that he knows what she wished for, and then Martha says about how she saw a little face. So then they're like, oh, the Smallville won again this year as they're driving. So yeah, then we see chaos erupt. As a big meteor shower crashes down. Love's parents literally get the most saddest but funniest death ever, as literally they are like, oh hey, there's something coming towards us. we shouldn't run or like run. No, they just stand there and it kills them. I'm sorry. I may sound terrible for literally laughing at Lana's parents' demise, but the way they just stand there and not run away, like it could be that they couldn't run because it was coming right for them. But yeah. So yeah. The town's in chaos. Young Lana is devastated by her parents' death, and Martha and Jonathan are pulled over. Meanwhile, young Lex sees a random kid tied to a tree who says help. But since Lex obviously doesn't know this kid or anything about him, he decides to be like, see ya, and abandons the kid. Only for Lex to basically get one of the meteors from the meteor shower attack, go after Lex. So Lionel finds a piece of Lex's hair and discovers that Lex is completely bald. Yeah, in the Superman comics, Lex gets his hair bald by the time Superman's created, but the showrunners decided to do it before Superman's ever a thing, which I kind of give them credit for. They made Lex Luthor bald. I have this theory that the reason why Lex Luthor bald because when he was hit by the meteors went into his head, causing him to never be able to grow his hair back again. But anyway, so Martha and Jonathan are at the scene when they're attacked by a meteor. And their truck tips over, and that's when a toddler, who we know as our boy Clark, Kal-El, shows up and is like, oh yeah, and they're like, oh yeah, and she's like, Martha, Bo Duke's like, Martha, and she's like, he's like, hey, where are we gonna tell people? We found this kid in a field, and then Martha's like, we didn't find him. He found us. Then cut to, it says present. Cut to 12 years later, in 2001. Oh, the show feels dated. Exactly. That's my premiere for the season 1 review came out 2 years ago. But anyway, we see a teenage Clark Kent played by Tom Welling, and yeah, we see a teenage Clark Kent played by Tom Welling, who acts in the show, directs the show later down the line. Yeah, Michael Rosenbaum also directs one episode later down the line. We'll get to Michael Rosenbaum. And yeah, so Martha, played by Annette O'Toole, and Bo Duke, played by Jonathan Snyder. I forgot to say their names in the last section, in the previous section, but here, I'm saying their actors' names now. Martha tells Clark about how he shouldn't be drinking milk straight out of the carton. So that's when Bo Duke shows up, or Jonathan Kent. He was on Dukes of Hazzard. When I watched this show, my dad, he always called him Bo Duke. So I just have a reason to call him Bo Duke. When I watched the first 5 seasons of my dad, he always called him Bo Duke. So I got that reasoning. And now me and my dad, but anyway, aside from that, Bo Duke / Jonathan tells Clark says about how he wants to join the football team, but obviously Jonathan Bo Duke is against this. Obviously, we start the whole him naysaying against Clark thing, because for some reason he and Martha are naysayers throughout this entire show, because the whole thing is that they believe Clark tries to tell them something, they don't believe it, and then Clark proves them wrong seconds later. Not in this episode. He's just a regular father that's like, Clark, what about your abilities? You could hurt someone. So Clark misses the bus, and we meet Clark's friend, Pete, played by Sam Jones III, and Chloe, played by Allison Mack. The same Allison Mack that got arrested for being in a cult. Yeah, that's why I feel weird watching this show now, because anytime I watch Allison Mack in the show, I have to be reminded about how in 2006, Kristen Krug, who played Lana, which we'll get to, got Allison Mack into this cult. It's unknown if Kristen Krug was a member or not, but yeah, it's obviously very weird seeing Chloe in this show. So yeah. So anyway, get back to the show. Pete, they say about how they bet against his best friend, and Clark decides to run real fast. So yeah. Yeah. So anyway. So yeah, so basically Tom Welling is basically taller than all the actors on the show. So they basically had all the actors to wear stilts while they were around him to make them look average height compared to Tom Welling's huge body. So Clark tells Chloe and Pete about how it's not a good idea to play against the football team. But they're like, oh yeah. Yeah, so they're like, yeah, that is also not a good idea. But yeah, they're like, it's a good idea. Oh yeah. So Clark decides to walk when they said that Clark can't get 5 feet of long lane without turning into a major freak show. So then we see Lana, played by Kristen Krug, and yeah, basically Lana's whole character trait in the first 5 seasons is basically just she smiles. She's smiley. That's her entire character trait for the first 5 seasons, is that all she does is basically smile. I don't get it. But anyway, aside from that, we also meet Lana's boyfriend, Whitney, played by Eric Johnson. And yeah, so I love this line where after Clark falls and Lana helps him pick, and Clark has like I think a German book, and Lana's like, I didn't know you have a dark side, Clark. And he said, and then she's like, what are you, man or Superman? And I just love that line. I think Kristen Krug really delivered on that line really well. I just love that line. Like every time I watch this show, in the first episode, I love that line. That line's so good. So Lana's boyfriend, played by Eric Johnson, Whitney, shows up, and Clark's sick from basically Lana's necklace, which has meteor rocks or kryptonite in it, which makes Clark sick because he's a Kryptonian. But yeah, we know this already. We know this already. So yeah, so Whitney throws Clark his book, which makes him fall over. Which makes all of his books fall over. So yeah, so then we see at Luthor Corp, we meet Lex, played by the extraordinary and great Michael Rosenbaum. I like Michael Rosenbaum. I also love him in the later seasons where he plays Smug Lex, but we'll get to Smug Lex. We'll get to it. But here in the first season, Michael Rosenbaum really tries to make Lex his own character. I love Michael Rosenbaum's Lex. I wish that Tom and Michael Rosenbaum would make that Smallville animated show that takes place after season 11, because I would watch that, even though the show was a live action show. But anyway, yeah. So Lex is like, thanks, Dad, as they basically reveal to us that it's Lex. Like, we didn't know that from the bald head. Smallville creators. You really think you'd literally have a guy with a bald head and we wouldn't know it's Lex Luthor? So you had to zoom in on his license plate to be like, oh, that's Lex Luthor. Okay, we know that now. Come on, guys. Really? You don't think we wouldn't know this by now? So, yeah. So then we literally see a mechanic. So then we see a kid, and he busts. We see a random kid at Smallville High, and he decides to bust open the trophy case and take himself a picture, saying it's vengeance time. So then that night, that kid goes to a mechanic who apparently was on the Smallville Crows team 12 years ago, and he electrocutes that guy to death. Yep. So, yeah. So Clark is just sitting alone by himself. So, yeah. So Clark is sitting by himself, wondering what's going on. Just sitting alone by himself. When we see Lex, we see a truck driver just driving on by. When Lex decides to answer a call on his phone. One, Lex, you do not answer a call while you're driving. That will land you to barbed wire falling from a truck. You not paying attention, so your cars hit that barbed wire, and then you hit Clark at miles an hour, like a lot, like 50 miles per hour, which causes Clark to save you. Which then causes Clark to kind of be suspicious about his powers. So yeah, so Jonathan's obviously upset about the Luthors, and why is Jonathan upset about the Luthors? Wait till season 2 to figure that out. And we'll get to that episode, season 2, episode 7. We'll get to that one. But this time, we're just talking about the pilot episode. Yeah. So Jonathan's like, oh yeah, who's that guy? Who's the maniac driving that car? And he's like, it was me, Mr. Duke. I mean, Mr. Kent. And I had to. And he's like, your Clark is an extraordinary boy. And he's like, if there's anything else I can pay you, he's like, drive slower. So yeah, so meanwhile, Clark is just watching. Before that scene, Clark was just watching Lana. Yep, what I forgot about the earlier seasons of the show is that Clark's a stalker. He watches Lana everywhere he goes. Literally, he watches her in his telescope. He watches her at cheerleading practice. This dude's a creep. And wait till the creep we get to see in the next episode. Greg. Wait till him in the next episode. He is a creeper. He outbalances Clark as a creeper. And also the Luthors. Okay, we'll get to the Luthors and their whole, oh, I don't knock on the door, I just show up unannounced being a creep. We'll get to that. But yeah. So Clark going to Lex bottom a truck. Jonathan's like, Jonathan or Duke is like, dude, I'm not giving you that truck. So then Clark proves that he's not normal by basically putting his hand in whatever Jonathan was working under and releasing that. Does that seem normal to you? So yeah, so Jonathan's basically like, okay, Clark, time to go to. So he reveals to Clark about his origins, and reveals that his parents weren't from Smallville. And he's like, what are you trying to tell me, Bo Duke? I'm from another planet. And he's like, where? Did you put my spaceship in the garage? And he's like, well, it's in the storm cellar. And some people obviously have some weirdo theories about this. Like, one, how could Clark never knew he had a spaceship to begin with? Wouldn't have he, Chloe, and Pete played around there as kids and did hide and seek in a storm cellar? Clark never never saw that spaceship once. That's what people kind of like, and I'm kind of like, that kind of raises some questions. How, maybe Martha and Jonathan lied about it. Maybe he did see it and he lied about it. And if he did see it, maybe he just forgot about it until Jonathan told him. But anyway, aside from that, the thing is that so Clark So he reveals that he has a spaceship. Clark's basically peeved off and says, "Oh, you should have told me," and speeds off. Then we see Lana. Yep, he speeds off. Then we see Lana and Clark meets with her, and he's like, "Oh, hey, Clark, what's up?" And she's like, "Oh yeah, let's talk. Let's have a whole scene where we talk to my parents' graves." So yeah. Anyway, there's a scene where Clark and Lex talk, and the Luthor Mansion looks completely different than it does in later episodes. But yeah. So yeah. So meanwhile, back to the plot about the weirdo kid. Chloe and Pete, played by Chloe and Pete. I'm sorry. It's just that every time I talk about Chloe, it reminds me of what Allison Mack did. And it's like, no, 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 no. I can't believe it. But anyway, so ladies, Chloe and Pete discover a random kid, discover that same kid, and they take a picture of him and discover that's Jeremy Creek. He was the Scarecrow in the 1989 meteor shower, and he disappeared. But he woke up in a coma. He was in a coma that he just got out of a 12-year coma, and now he's come back. So Clark's like, that guy would be 26 now. But yeah. But he's like, so yeah, so maybe the meteor shower gave him electric power. So Chloe decides to introduce Clark to her wall of weird. It's every strange thing going on in Smallville. So yeah, basically Clark sees a picture of Lana, and a young Lana, and it's basically like, it's my fault, and decides to leave. So that's when Whitney confronts him over Lana kissing Clark in the last scene. So he basically takes Lana's necklace and puts it on Clark to basically be like, that's the last time you're ever gonna get to Lana, and basically strings him up as a Scarecrow so we can get that iconic poster shot for the season 1 poster. Then Jeremy Creek shows up, basically be like, oh yeah, Clark, you're better safe here. Then Lex shows up, Clark falls, and immediately the necklace falls off of him. I do not get that. How, I get it so Clark could get all of his powers back, but how does he fall and the necklace immediately just knocks off of him? Someone would have had to like take it off him. No, Lex saves Clark. Clark just falls on his face, and the necklace is off his neck. How? But anyway, Lex is interested by this necklace. So meanwhile, at the homecoming dance, we see everyone having a good time. When Jeremy Creek is like, yeah, I'm here to get revenge. And he's like, these people didn't do anything to you. And he's like, it's not about these people. It's about to get revenge for people and everyone else like us. So Clark's like, I'm not gonna let you hurt my friends. And he's like, your friends? They don't care about you. And he's like, yes, I do. And they get into, of course, as I said, a big fight. I miss saying that. But they get into a big fight over it. And Clark basically is like, pow, pow, pow. And Jeremy Creek is like, electric. Until Clark knocks him into a car. And the water mixes electricity, and it fries his brain, making him not remember anything about what he was doing. Yep, I know the whole thing of later on when Clark defeats a villain in over a second, but here it's kind of simple. So Clark goes to dance to see Lana and Whitney dancing. Yep. So then that night, Clark is at his house when Lana shows up. And he want to dance, and she's like, "How are you, Clark?" And he's like, "It's perfect." When you hear a car Hawk. When it's revealed that it was actually a dream the entire time, as Your Everything by Lifeboat plays in the by Lifehouse plays in the background. It's such a good scene. Clark said Clark says thanks for the dance, Lana, as the song plays. You're right, you're right, you're everything, everything. You're right, you're I need. You're everything, everything. Love that song. That sounds great. But yeah, it just shows up in the sky and the episode ends. Wow. What a great premiere episode. I forgot how much I liked this. I haven't watched this premiere in months since I started my rewatch of the third time. But watching this episode fourth time, it's very different. Even though it's kind of outdated. Just like my first review from 2 years ago. And the whole thing about like I had to now mention the actors by name now to and yeah, it's kind of awkward seeing Allison Mack in this show, knowing what she'll do in the future as a Nexium cultist. But yeah, the acting was fine. Jeremy Creek was the first villain the show had. I'm kind of glad in the later seasons the show kind of strays away from the meteor infected sometimes. But yeah, if they would have made the show all about the meteors, it would have gotten boring. And I'm glad that the season does have some actual human villain. Wait till Craving. Wait till episode 7 with Amy Adams. That one is going to be terrifying to watch again. But anyway, yeah. Welcome to my new review series, again, for Smallville, Season 1. I'm excited to review all 21 episodes again, and in this widescreen format. So yeah, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time for more Smallville. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you for more I'll see you next time on Smallville.